Hello and welcome to today's reading. Today is our first reading for festive season. So we have decorated the lamp and we have brought some little friends along. So this is Snowman and Reindeer. They're right in front of the Pooh Bear Cup. So Pooh Bear Cup is still here. We have Christmas jumpers. Pooh Bear does not have a Christmas outfit. I need to get him a Christmas outfit. You need a Christmas jumper too. But what we do have, and if I just adjust the screen a little bit, we do have some friends. So for festive season, which is going to be the next couple of weeks, we're going to be joined by a couple of new friends. So this is Buddy, his little Christmas hat on. So we'll put Buddy up here. Oh. We have Nicholas, the Christmas llama. So you can come sit up here too. There we go. And we also have Rudolph. So this is quite fun. So now we've got some friends along as well to enjoy the stories. So the main thing is though, we hope that you enjoyed the story. So thank you for coming to listen to me and Pooh Bear today for our first story of the season. So today we are going to be reading Cops and Robbers by Janet and Allan Ahlberg. Obviously, traditionally, you might not think, if you don't know the story, that this is not a Christmas story, but in fact, it is a Christmas story. So I'm going to actually start with something we don't normally do, which is I'm going to read the back of the book to you guys. So, on Christmas Eve, while children sleep, the scallywag robbers prowl and creep. Who can catch them? Tell us who. The one and only Officer Pugh. So this is quite fun. So we're going to do something a little bit different. And for the next couple of weeks, there'll be other more traditional Christmas stories. So thank you for joining us. And as usual, we're going to read through the story, check out some of the pictures and illustrations, and we're also then going to go back and check out some of the cool pictures a little bit later on. So sit back, enjoy, and welcome to Christmas. So, Cops and Robbers by Janet and Allan Ahlberg. Here are the cops of London town, hard-working, brave and true. They drink their tea, stay up till 3, and take good care of you. Here are the robbers of London town, with crowbars and skeleton keys. They prowl and creep when you're asleep, and take whatever they please. Ho ho for the robbers, the cops and the robbers, ho ho. The worst of the robbers, as most of us know, is dreadful Grubber Dan. His voice is gruff, and he's pinched enough stuff to fill a furniture van. His mates in the gang are Snatcher Jack and Babyface Billy the Bag, Pegleg Horace, Fingers Morris, and villainous Grandma Swag. Ho ho for the robbers, the cops and the robbers, ho ho. This dreadful, snatching, pilfering bunch would rob a baby of his lunch. This sneaking, creeping, fingering lot would burgle a burglar like as not. This peg-legged, baby-faced, villainous crew would pick the pocket of a kangaroo. Now we hear there's worse to come, for the robbers are planning, the scallywag scum, to make a haul on Christmas Eve of all the toys that they can thieve. Like crooked Santas they'll creep about, pinching presents, not giving them out. Ho ho for the robbers, the cops and the robbers, ho ho. The best of the cops, by common consent, is outstanding Officer Pugh. He can run like a hare and fight like a bear, and he's good at crosswords too. So on Christmas Eve, when the trouble began, the sergeant said the only thing to do is to send for Pew. We'll get them alive or dead. Listen, Pew, said the sergeant, the problem is this. There are toys going missing galore. From the size of the job, we suspect it's a mob. What they'll need is the strong arm of the law. Ho ho for the robbers, the cops and the robbers, ho ho. Meanwhile, outside in the gloomy street, the strong arm of the robbers was working a treat, and the strong leg too, and the beady eye, keeping watch for passers-by. In at the windows, in at the doors, down the chimneys, under the floors, through silent rooms the robbers crept, while in their beds the children slept, dreaming of Santa Claus and snow, and what they'd get from Uncle Joe. They never knew that Uncle Morris was robbing them and Uncle Horace. Ho ho for the robbers, the cops and the robbers, ho ho. The lookout man was Snatcher Jack. He stood in a doorway yawning. But when Officer Pew came into view, Jack saw him and whistled a warning. Grandma Swag, when the warning came, was pushing a pram up the road. It was piled high with loot, and a stolen to boot, a thoroughly villainous load. Hello, hello, said Officer Pew. Now then, what's going on here? Not much, young man, said the criminal gran. We're just having a robbery, dear. Ho ho for the robbers, the cops and the robbers, ho ho. Before Officer Pew could unravel this clue, the robbers were on him like beasts from a zoo. They knocked off his helmet and rumpled his tie, trod on his truncheon, kicked mud in his eye, pulled his ears and tickled his feet, threw half of his clothes all over the street, punched and pummeled him, wham, bam, slam, even ran over him with the pram. Give up, the robbers cried, as they sat on the officer side by side. We've got you outnumbered 5-1. For in the confusion, Grandma had gone. But Officer Pew just shook his head. We've hardly started, boys, he said. And he laughed a laugh and grinned a grin. Sitting comfortably, are you? Then I'll begin. With a sudden leap, he bounded free and handcuffed Horace to a nearby tree, tied Morris up in an empty sack, and beat the daylights out of Jack. Help, shouted Billy. This can't be fair. That Pew's not human. He fights like a bear. My mother was right. Crime doesn't pay. And with these words, he fainted away. Grabber-Dan was the last to cop it. Grandma, of course, having chosen to hop it. Dan tried to hide. The officers sought him. Dan tried to run. The officer caught him. Dan went to lift Pew over his head. The officer lifted Dan instead, and whirled him round and swung him whoosh across the road and into a bush. Down he tumbled, skidded, rolled, hit a concrete gnome and was knocked out cold. Pew dusted his hands and sat on the wall. A little snow had begun to fall. He looked at the gnome and patted his head. "You could get a medal for this," he said. "Ho ho for the robbers, the cops and the robbers, ho ho." Here are the cops of London town, in the station at 2:30. They drink their beer and raise a cheer for upstanding Officer Pew. Here are the robbers of London town, in cells all gloomy and grim. Let us out, not guilty," they shout. And it wasn't me, it was him. Ho ho for the robbers, the cops and the robbers, ho ho. And the toys? Oh, they were taken back by a Santa Claus copper with a Santa Claus sack, while the rest of the force searched day and night for an elderly lady of medium height, with a fondness for earrings and red fox furs, and a habit of taking what wasn't hers. She usually carried a sizable bag. Her name, of course, was Grandma Swag. Ho ho for the robbers, the cops and the robbers, ho ho. And on the last page there we have a great little illustration of all police officers looking out for Grandma Swag. So that's the story of how Officer Pew saved Christmas in Janet and Allan Ahlberg's Cops and Robbers. I really hope you enjoyed that story. I love that story. I think it's a great little way to move into the Christmas season, especially if you know someone or yourself haven't heard it before. It's always a nice little surprise. It's actually a Christmas story. Let's go back and check out some of these illustrations, because I know that some of them went quite quickly, and if you're lucky to have a copy of this book in your personal library, definitely get it out and go have a good look at those illustrations, because they're so detailed and there's so much to add. It's really, really fun to just go back and see all the other parts of the story. If you don't have a copy in your library and you're able to add one, I highly recommend this story. It's very, very entertaining. And if you don't, then definitely go down to your local library and support them, and make sure you borrow out a copy so you can enjoy it too. But while we do that, I think what I want to point out is one of my favourite characters, who doesn't actually really appear that much in the story side, who you can follow throughout the book, is actually our little police dog here. Go a little bit closer there. There he is. It's quite fun because as you go through the story you can find him in different places and kind of follow what he's up to as well. So on the front cover, which we didn't actually get to look at, is the police dog with also his counterpart, one of the robber's dogs as well, which is quite fun to see. And then obviously you have the big larger pictures, which are really worth going back and looking at, because you can see everything that's going on. There's just so much detail. If I go quite close and see a little bit there, we won't give it all away. Well, there's no point in getting a copy yourself. But I definitely wanted to share some of those things. And then as we go through, one of the things here is the map. So there's a great, is it this page? Yeah. There's a great street map of town, which is definitely worth looking at. And for anyone who's heard one of our earlier stories, Burglar Bill, I like to think that that's a little reference there in the middle to Burglar Bill, which is always quite nice to see that there's a connection through the stories. Good page to look out for is when they do a part of the story where they're kind of moving on along, so they tell you quite a lot that's happening at the same time, because you can go back and check the little individual pictures, which is really fun. And also the different places the robbers are hiding in the street as well, when Officer Pugh starts to go after them. So as I say, this is Cops and Robbers by Janet and Allan Ahlberg. Really hope that you enjoyed that, and thank you so much for coming along with me, Pooh Bear, Rudolph, Nicholas the Christmas Llama, and Buddy, and our little reindeer and snowman at the back there for our little Christmas season kickoff. We really hope you can join us for the next few stories as well, which are also festive season right up to the new year. Thank you so much, and we'll see you soon. Bye! Say bye, Pooh Bear.